Okay, today's blog is going to be just one of those real practical things. I try to do a lot of observing within our Christian community. It's my heart, it's my passion. I believe the spiritual part of you is the most important part of you that you need to be focusing on. And so, what I'm going to talk about today is just a little thing that I think maybe can help you. I know many of you attend a church service Sunday morning. Maybe you go to a what's called Sunday school class before that or after that, maybe a life group class. Maybe you go back to a Sunday evening service. Maybe you have a life group in the evening. Some of you go to what they call Wednesday night Bible study or Wednesday night prayer meeting or a life group thing. Some of you have some things throughout the week that your churches may offer. You may take a class, on some, learning how to study your Bible or something like that, at your church that they offer or something within the community. And so, one of the things I noticed is that most people don't understand how to be proactive during that time. The average person, I think, just kind of sits during a sermon or a class and just kind of, you know, okay, yeah, preach it, yeah. And we look on the screen, and there it is, and we just kind of follow along. And let me say that's good. It's probably the least that you can do during one of those times. And don't get me wrong, I'm not against screens. I love the screens. I love scriptures on the screens and all that kind of stuff. It's just an extra tool that we can use. So, what I want to talk to you about today is how to get the most out of something like that. And, just a few things that I found that help. So, the first thing is when you're listening to a message or whatever, you say, I'm not a note taker. Okay, so what do we mean by note takers? And this can be different for different people. Some people are just like a verbatim, like just everything like the person's saying, write down. Some churches have like a fill-in sheet, and you can fill in blanks to kind of keep you tracking along, and that's helpful for those that struggle with like the ADD, which is pretty much everyone nowadays. So when I say take notes, I have a little bit different mentality when I take notes when someone's teaching or speaking or preaching, and I really want to get something from it. So, the idea of taking notes, I'm going to look at some of my notes here actually. Okay. We take notes for the purpose of reminding ourselves of something that was said that we can, we won't forget later. Okay, so it's not that just that, when I sit there, I'm just like, let me just verbatim everything they do. I'm going to write something down that I want to remember later. Because honestly, I've known many people that sit there and take notes during church just voraciously, and they never really look at them again. Okay, so, what is the purpose? We want purpose in what we do. So, write something down that you really don't want to forget. Okay, what is being spoken to you? It really doesn't matter if you just like verbatim everything. I mean, most places you can listen back to a podcast or on the internet or something anyway. But what is being spoken to you? So when I'm listening to a sermon and, or a class and that teacher, that preacher is preaching, I'm like, that brought something to my mind that I've been struggling with. And so I write that down. This would be a good verse for my battle with, anger or insecurity. This would be a good thought, or this is something I want to look up later. Okay. So remember, I'm not just, verbatiming, just writing down everything exactly, but I'm putting things that I'm being spoken to about. The next thing is, what thoughts are you being challenged with? Okay, so a couple weeks ago, my husband preached a message in Romans, and he brought something to the surface that I had never really saw before. I never really had explained in that way what the Bible meant there. And I'll tell you what, that week I had just kind of said, Lord, I need some revelation in this area. I need some understanding in a situation that I'm facing, how to handle it. And so that truth that he brought out challenged my thoughts in there. And so I wrote that little thought down, brought it back, and I used that in my prayer time to help me balance that truth of that word with the struggle I was having. Okay, so a thought that I was being challenged, or also if there's like a step. Okay, so the pastor, the teacher said, okay, this would be a good next step. I write that down and think, okay, how would that work for me? And so that was my last one here. What steps are you being challenged to take? When I sit there and I listen to a message or a class time, I sit there and think, okay, what is my next move? Because I've heard this. I know God wanted me to hear it because I was there in attendance to whatever I was at. What does God want me to do with this now? And so with taking notes like that, I can then go back in my time with the Lord, look over some of those notes, and just take some time to process through praying through some of those thoughts. Okay, so it's just a huge difference from just, sitting in church like this or just kind of, listening like this. I mean, really, what's the purpose there? If I'm going to be there, I'm going to get all I can out of it. Now, I'm going to say another thing, and you may not like it, but I'm just going to tell you, it's the truth, and it's helpful. I don't mind the words on the screen. I really like to look at that, and just sometimes I just want to look at that when the pastor's reading it, or even just in a class or something like that. But I also sometimes use my phone for the Bible. But I'm just going to tell you, the best way to get as much out of a biblical lesson, a message, a spiritual thing that's being taught is to have your actual Bible. That paper Bible, here's mine right here that I use in my devotions. Your Bible that you can actually open and look at when the pastor preaching. And I will tell you, I will make little notes and mark up. Don't be all afraid to mark in your Bible. It's a tool for you to use. And so I will write things in it and mark things. You should see my book of Romans in 2 Bibles that I have, because I've gone through Romans now twice with my husband teaching it. And I circle an arrow and I put out what some of those words mean. And it is so helpful to me when I go back. So what I'm trying to say here is, don't be a lazy listener. You will get out of something what you put into it. And I dare say most people are not putting in anything. They kind of want to just sit there, in the comfort, of their auditorium or class and just bring it to me. And I almost dare you to let it speak to me. Now, when you go in with your heart open, confessed sin. Spirit, speak to me. What do you want me to learn today? I know you have a message for me. Have that Bible open. Have a little notepad. Have a pen or pencil beside you and be writing these things. And don't worry about getting everything verbatim or every blank. What is the aspects? What's the little nugget that you need to pull away from that class or lesson? I'm just going to tell you, out of every Bible study I've done, and ever since I've been doing this, this has just changed my listening. It's changed my listening, which then has changed my spiritual growth pattern, which it has helped me grow. So just a very practical thing. And I know it means maybe a little bit of work for you, but come on, you're going to be there anyway. Why not get the most out of it that you possibly can? Okay, so go into your next class, your next church service with an active, proactive listening ear and heart, ready to really hear what God has for you. Okay, see you next week. Bye.